Welcome back to another episode of the Block Runner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
What's going on, dude?
And on the sticks, we got TJ.
Hello.
No interview today. So last week we did Alex Lab.
That was a great one, dude.
It was absolutely great.
Yeah, let's unpackage that quickly because we want to discuss the happenings, I guess, that have been, occurring around who we interview and what we cover on this channel.
Yeah.
Because as you know, as like the bumper says somewhere, probably at some point in this video, we don't just do the YouTube stuff, right?
That's right.
We do a lot of other stuff.
That's right.
We do Metaverse stuff. Now we're doing like digital matter theory stuff. Like we're all over the place these days, right? And we're sticking our hands in many different pots.
I mean, we're pretty deep in the whole non-arbitrary aspect of things.
Correct.
That's the most interesting thing happening on Bitcoin, really.
That's the feedback we're receiving. Like some people are really starting to like become alarmingly like supportive.
Yeah.
To a degree I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, it's like we were I mean, I don't want to say the name, but we were like, "Hey, check this out, right? It's cool. It's a non-arbitrary in these tokens and blah blah blah." He was like, "Okay, cool." And then after like implementing it and working on it, I was like, "Dude, you don't even know how important this is." It's like, this is like the physics of Bitcoin. I was like, yeah, we kind of explain it, using physics and stuff on the spaces and stuff. It's like, no, you don't get it.
Yeah.
This is like quantum physics.
Yeah. It's like bigger than like Isaac Newton, How did you guys do this? It's like, I don't know, dude. You just fucking thought it was cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've been getting all kinds of interesting like reactions, I guess, and it's so crazy how like polar opposite it is to like when we first introduced the concept, like officially, man. It was like death threats borderline.
Pretty much.
It's like, how dare you? Like, oh,
it's like I own Bitcoin data, not you.
Yeah, it's like how dare you disrupt my everything, my existence. It's like I have a bitmap, so like you're tampering with the belief system and all that. It's like, oh, we're simply experimenting like everybody else in this space, right?
Yeah.
We don't know the outcome of these, these introductions of like literally like new compounds into the recipe. Yeah. It's like that's the whole point. We're trying to identify new reactions and capture that.
I mean, really, the experiment it's like, okay, people like bitmap, right? At first they didn't, by the way.
True.
Right. People like bitmaps. Like, why do they like bitmaps? Like, oh, because it's non-arbitrary, right?
Well, not everybody like came to that conclusion. That's just what we thought.
Well, yeah. I guess we were trying to unpack why we were so interested in bitmap before everyone else.
Okay.
And it was because it was non-arbitrary. It's like, okay, let's just create a framework where everybody can just generate these things.
Yeah.
And then it's like, let's release it and see what happens. And that's the experiment.
I guess we're already just gonna get into it. So if you were interested for our unpacking of Alex Labs, it's on the channel. The video, it was a great interview. But okay, excellent layer 2 and DeFi ecosystem happening over there.
Did you know that we're more than just a YouTube channel? We also built MScribe, the first inscription platform built from the ground up for the metaverse on Bitcoin. Connect your bitmap ordinals and use our tools to bring your community into the virtual realm. Support us by joining the movement at mscribe.io. Like, comment, and subscribe for the latest alpha. Back to the video.
But yeah, let's get into it, dude. I mean, the non-arbitrary era is now. It's official.
Yeah.
Like, we did as much as we could as far as like you just said, identifying what we felt was like the ingredients like that everybody was kind of like overlooking as like, what is the main value exponent here?
Yeah.
That obviously Satoshi like brought into the ethos. That's what captured our attention.
Yeah. And
kept it immediately, and then we saw that's why it blocked out in 17 days or whatever.
Yeah. Something
is happening, and it's not the metaverse.
Yeah.
Because it's never the metaverse, right?
Yeah, it's not.
It's not that. That's not the thing that would capture everyone's like spirits.
As a matter of fact, it was because of the metaverse people hated it so much.
Right. Yeah, that's typical, right? Because the metaverse is like the most faded of all fadeable subjects in like in human reality, right?
Yeah.
We know that because we experienced it. Like we have a career of that, of like experiencing and dealing with fade and accusations of you guys are nuts for even like contemplating. Like that's going to be your focus in life.
Yeah.
The metaverse. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like what's wrong with physical reality?
Yeah.
Why are you trying to like ruin that and like take us to this virtual space? Don't you have like any friends? Shit like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like that wasn't the thing that sold everybody. It was something else.
That's right.
So that's what we spent a long time talking about, right?
It's like I'm thinking about that video. It's like the internet. We don't need the internet. We can just call each other. So what's good? What's useful about the internet?
Correct. Yeah, I remember that. And like Bill Gates went on like NBC Tonight or whatever, talked to John Letterman. Is that his name?
Something like that. Letterman. It's close enough. Close enough.
Yeah, and he's like explaining to him, it's like, email is actually really important, John. Yeah. There's a reason why we're here, building an Internet Explorer and such. We want an email infrastructure. He's like, but I have the post office.
Yeah.
You're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Like the mail works just fine, Bill. I remember watching that clip. And like the audience was like in full agreement with John Letterman. Yeah. Bill Gates is like, look at this stupid nerd. He's trying to change the world. What an idiot.
Yeah.
And it's happening all over again.
Yeah.
Like it's in this whole metaverse.
As we expected.
Dynamic. Agreed.
This is how things work.
Yeah. So that's why we go to these Twitter spaces and stuff. And it's funny. Like the first thing people ask us, it's like, oh, you guys called it. Shit like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. Like we're in this perpetual reality of like everything we try to call and identify gets like this mass fade every single time.
Yeah.
But eventually it gets proven right every time.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. What is that, dude?
What is that?
It's David Letterman.
Oh, did I say John Letterman?
Yeah. Thank you for the research, dude.
Thank you, dude. Who the hell is John Letterman? It's not a real man.
Not a late night talk show host, I know that.
Yeah.
I must have been thinking of John Lennon or something. I don't know, dude.
It was close enough. Everybody knew who you were talking about.
Okay. So yeah, look up that clip. It does exist.
Yeah,
like Bill Gates on David Letterman Tonight Show or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's plenty of examples of this. Like whenever there's a new paradigm shift, like approaching humanity, like it's on the horizon. Some people see it, most do not.
Some people are doing it right now with Apple Vision Pro. It's like nobody's gonna wear that in their face.
Yeah.
Like that's not gonna happen. This is just everybody's gonna forget about it. That's not the case.
Yeah.
Apple, the most valuable company on the planet, $3 trillion.
That's like how much cash they have, right? Or is that their market cap?
That's their market cap.
But they have like $1 trillion in cash, don't they? Or something outrageous.
Roughly, like 600 billion, something like that.
Holy shit.
It is outrageous.
Yeah.
They're their own country.
Yeah.
I mean, easily.
They have a UFO. Like literally as a headquarters.
Absolutely.
So what about them?
Okay, so a $3 trillion company, right, comes out with this headset, right? Yeah. This is a virtual reality headset. And the design of it is for people to work inside of it.
Okay.
And of course people are fading it because obviously it's $3,500. Yeah, it's expensive. But these laptops are roughly about that same price.
Yes, roughly.
Roughly, right? But the idea is to be able to be immersed in whatever it is that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this whole idea is getting faded, but we already spend most of our time on these like 2D things, 2D screens.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that far of a stretch to start transitioning to like a more spatial computing, as they call it.
I totally agree. Yeah. Again, I think it makes a lot of sense. I guess we've talked about this so many times.
I guess we're trying to figure out like the psychology of like why there's so much resistance to like new ideas.
It's just change. It's just what it is. It's just resistance to change.
Yeah.
In all facets, right? Like, anybody like, a new job or whatever, something in a relationship issue. It's like, fuck, I'm like in the worst toxic relationship of all time. But that's better than like, changing my whole reality, like finding a whole new situation.
Yeah.
Like that's more daunting than like the actual abuse I'm going through and stuff like that. That's why everybody gets stuck. Not everybody. Yeah. A lot of people get stuck in like horrible situations in their life.
Yeah.
Because it's a human thing. It's just change is terrifying.
Yeah.
So that applies to technology and a lot of every facet, like we're saying, right? So it's easier just to remain complacent, remain comfortable, and all that.
Yeah, but what is it? between the quality of people with who like embrace this change and who like recognize like this is what's coming versus people who see what people are talking about and just be like, hey, this is stupid. Like, what is the difference between those two people?
Yeah, like why are some people more willing to embrace it and just like unshackle themselves from like anything really? I don't know. That's a great fucking.
I feel like you know, we're sort of like scientific. When the facts change, our minds change, right? We're not like stuck on any ideology. It's like if the fabric of reality changes, it changes. Our minds change, right? And so like we don't have a stake in anything. It's just the truth.
Yeah, I guess that adaptation. There's got to be some sort of like, you know, how there's metrics for everything in reality. Like, you know, intelligence has a metric, IQ points or whatever. There's probably some like adaptability score somewhere in our brain that we haven't like really identified.
Yeah, I think you're right, dude. It's the ability to measure because, you know, like the jobs right now, they're starting to go, well, they're going up, you know, roughly, right? In the whole country, United States, they're going up. But on average, they're trending down, right? On average, right? And they're trending down because of technology. They're trending down because of, you know, all these like innovations and stuff.
Yeah.
But we can see that trend and we can say, oh, you know what? If you play this out to infinity, most people won't have jobs. And then it's like, okay, then what is everybody going to be doing?
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe it's the metaverse. So like we can see the future, and that's why we're so bullish on like.
That's true. We were talking about that this morning too. It's like, because you said tomorrow is the headset release or like the pre-order.
Correct. Yes.
In the morning, so it's like you're full preparation mode.
Yeah, I got my coffee ready.
Your coffee. You got your fucking vault open because you're gonna have to like dig deep into that vault
That's
to like
true.
afford this fucking thing. Like everything's ready to go, right? So it's like when we're talking about the reality, it's like you're expecting it to blow you away, right? And it has to.
I'm expecting it to blow me away only because I understand the technology in it. What's in it it's mind blowing. Like what's inside, the resolutions of the eyeballs, like the highest resolution screen you can find anywhere.
Yeah,
it's gonna be right on your eyeball. Like that's interesting.
That is interesting.
And you won't be able to see the pixels, even though it's like right next to your eyeball.
It's amazing the leaps we're willing to take. Like as far as like I don't know, like is there like a potential health consequence to this?
That's true.
And like there is no like FDA for like technology. It's like, you know what? Maybe we should test this for a decade.
Yeah.
Thank God. Don't clip this and send this to the regulatory.
Yeah.
Because we don't want
it's like you know what? Hyman's right.
It's like we should have a regulatory.
Let's shut down Apple right now.
Yeah, let's make them go through a 10-year testing phase before they can release this product, just to make sure we're not like everyone in the future is going to be blind.
Yeah.
Or like just rampant brain tumors and such. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, like in the technology space, you get this kind of like a pass. Like we're about to just do this. Like take this quantum leap of like, you know, because people are already saying like these devices, they emit something.
Yeah.
And that's like, you don't want your fucking phone on your boob or else for sure you're going to get breast cancer, right?
Right.
I've heard that. I don't know if it's true.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, let's just slap them on our eyeballs like you're saying.
Yeah. There's too much. You have too much Wi-Fi strapped to your body, dude.
Yeah, all that shit.
You got your watch and you got your phone. Now you got a computer on your face.
We're just gonna turn into a big cancerous blob at some point with all this technology, dude.
Yeah.
So a good thing, because I mean, what it actually unlocks is like superhuman ability. Because I fantasize about. Literally, I was walking down my apartment hallway with these glasses on, no technology embedded. And I was like imagining, like, what would it be like if like glasses at this scale, you know, this, like that, maybe like 10, 15, 20 years into the future,
right? And
had all the functionalities of this Vision Pro you're describing.
Yeah.
What would I be doing as I'm walking down this hallway? Like, you know, where would the screen up here, what would it be showing me?
Yeah.
What am I listening to? Like, do I have charts on display? It's like, how is that impacting my field of vision? Like while I'm walking down this hallway, like things like that.
Yeah. I find it, maybe when you're walking down the hallway, maybe those glasses aren't that useful. But maybe like your neighbor's walking by, you forgot, his name. It's like it's like, that's John.
Right.
And it's John. Hey, it's like, hey, John, how you doing?
It was like, oh, by the way, John's birthday was like 2 days ago. It was like, like a voice in my ear that's just like an AI.
Yeah, it's like, hey, by the way, happy birthday. And it's like, oh shit, thank you, man.
Yeah, but then his AI is telling him, was like, dude, that wasn't genuine. Like his AI told him it was your birthday. It's like, that guy's an asshole. Yeah. It's like, he didn't really remember your birthday.
That's right.
It's like, fuck that guy. It's like, Siri, can you remind me to like fuck that guy? It's like, I don't like him, right? Add him to my fuck you list, Like that's the future, right?
Definitely not getting a Christmas card.
Yeah, like everybody knows everyone's like bullshit now because AI is just calling us out constantly.
That's true. That's true. Did you know that we're more than just a YouTube channel?
We also built MetaZone, the first app store for the metaverse.
Buy, sell, and explore a new class of digital assets like our flagship game, Rovi.ai.
Support us by collecting your digital assets through MetaZone at metazone.io.
Like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated.
Back to the video. Yeah, so we're approaching a weird zone in life. So yeah, we were talking about that this morning. And we're like, okay, so there's got to be some dangerous consequence to this, right? Especially when it comes to driving and right. We're talking about
but you know what? Driving sucks. Anyone who likes driving hasn't driven long enough,
right?
And so right now, eventually, all cars are going to be driven by themselves. And then what are you going to be doing inside the car? You're going to be on your phone or within a headset.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting to. It's like, it almost feels like there's this perfect like convergence of technologies leading up to support this thesis of like the metaverse is inevitable because, or like an AR, VR, like permanent part of our like, existence.
Yeah.
Like, the main detraction of that is like, of course, it like disconnects us from physical reality. So we're less likely to have physical connection.
Yeah.
We're already way down that path. Yeah. That's already happening.
We're locked in.
Yeah. So, but like the dangerous consequences of that, like, are people going to kill each other more often because they're just persistently distracted on the road and stuff? But, eventually driving will be fully autonomous, right? So that's not even like a potential consideration. It's nothing to worry about,
Yeah, people may not even kill each other out outside of the car just because they're distracted.
What do you mean?
Within their headset.
Oh, it's like there's no reason to like be mad at each other anymore?
No, because
it's like no reason to kill our fellow man. In the metaverse, yeah, it's open season.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Why not?
Why not?
Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, okay, so that's Apple Vision.
Yeah,
it's going to change, but not right away.
No,
right.
Definitely not. No, it's too expensive, too heavy.
Yeah.
And it's too big.
I'm expecting it to blow a lot of people away.
See, talking about blowing me away, I would expect that I would use this roughly on a regular basis. Like you're gonna come into the office, and then I'm in the zone, dude. I'm like fucking moving shit and working and doing stuff.
Okay.
Like that on average, that's what you're going to see.
Yeah.
And then for sure, then it's like confirmed. Like this is it.
So you need like real utility.
Oh yeah.
Not like this is just a fun experience.
No, I'm not getting this thing to watch movies.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it'd be cool, but
yeah, you want it to actually like serve you as like as technology should.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the only downside I really heard is like how heavy it is, and so it might become kind of cumbersome. I don't think you're gonna have this thing on you throughout the entire workday.
Probably not, just because it's that heavy.
Yeah, so that's the ultimate test. Like, how long can you burden the discomfort? If you now I have like infinite display, that's way worth a neck surgery or two. A neck enhancement surgery.
Yeah,
I'll take it, dude. Just give me some neck implants. All of a sudden, I'm fucking Brock Lesnar over here with some traps from God, and I'm a user. I'm a power user.
Right.
It could happen. I could definitely see you going down that path, dude.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, is it useful? Well, I guess we're gonna find out, and it does depend on the applications, because I heard like you can only run a few apps at once or something like that, or something weird. But I guess we'll see.
Okay, well, once you get it, we're gonna have like a full. I'm gonna let you live with that for like a week or two.
Yeah.
And then we're going to like come back on here and discuss, hopefully, let you guys know. Because, yeah, I know a lot of people won't be able to get one.
Yeah. I think that, initial run is like 80,000, and then they're going to only make like 500,000 in the year or something like that. Yeah. So it's nothing.
It's going to be tough. So, yeah, we'll report. I mean, we're not like a fucking unboxing channel or anything like that.
Definitely not.
But this is an important one because this applies to us in our passions and our, everything.
Yeah, like imagine you are creating a 3D model for the bitmap metaverse. And then, you could see the 3D model and like rotate it and like on the table and, like, and maybe potentially just like start editing it within the headset.
Like right there?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I feel like that's the best way to like craft a 3D model is like when you can actually see it.
Well, I sent you a link if you want to pull that one up. It's kind of like what a visual of what you're talking about.
Like somebody actually using it for sculpting?
Yeah,
shit. Oh, okay. Oh, there we go.
Is this actually it?
So I think that may be the. I don't know.
Wow,
that's probably the Quest 3.
Yeah, I think that may be the Quest, but this is kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, dude. That's
Holy shit.
Hell yeah. Who doesn't want to work on their explosion-powered vehicles and try to figure out what the hell's happening with this concoction?
Yeah.
I mean, as long as it doesn't result in you like turning the wrong nut and then like it causing an explosion in your explosion-powered vehicle, then yeah, I would agree. This is way better than like your phone.
Yeah.
Look at that. Now he's watching the video. Dude, this is actually fucking sick.
Yeah, and then an advanced version of this is like it analyzes the engine. It's like, well, here's your problem. Yeah. All you got to do is connect these two hoses that have nothing to do with each other, and it's done.
That's true. That's whenever like AI gets like really embedded into all this.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, this is wild. And then, if you get a little bored, fucking sports on top, like another display, you get a little horny, some porn underneath. You got on demand, dude.
Truly limitless.
Limitless, dude. Look at all that extra. Who wants to see my house or his house? I don't.
Yeah.
There's so much better stuff to be looking at, right?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy, dude. Yeah, we're heading to some weirdness zone for sure.
Yeah, man. I just like how it's like stuck in like midair and you're kind of looking around. It's like it stays there,
Yeah, that's what I mean. So this is definitely worth, a brain tumor in 20 years. I guess that's the leap of faith we're all going to take here pretty soon, right?
For sure.
You're risking that potentially.
That's just 20 years from now, dude. Who cares?
You get 20 years of superhuman ability.
Yeah.
You better hope, you
get something out of it.
Yeah. A lot of value out of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to this rabbit hole because we're talking about the psychology of like the resistance of change and like the acknowledgement of like.
This is clearly a change coming.
This is a change.
It's a big one.
This is a trend. We're trending in this direction, right? We're going here, right?
Yeah.
So why hate it? That's the ultimate question. It's like, why hate this? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It is kind of crazy. Like, why would you look at this and see like anything?
I was like, this sucks.
Anything to scoff at.
Yeah, it's weird.
I think a lot of it has to do with Mark Zuckerberg, dude. He like really tainted. He really tainted all this. Like, just his reputation. He needs to win a few jiu-jitsu matches or something, just to like.
It's like for people to root for him.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's like, you know what? The metaverse is great. Mark is right. Just because he's like crushing people with his legs.
Yeah,
just triangle choking people all day.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense to us, obviously. But maybe we're just fucking weird. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, all right. So let's kind of shift to another topic. So we were talking about the metaverse. We had that interview, but we also had 1 week's worth of DMT and NATs.
1 week? Oh, like it's live.
Trading.
It's been live deployed for about a week.
Correct.
The trading of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a mint end of November, right?
Yeah.
For I mean, basically, like the documentation was released. This is how you inscribe.
Yeah.
A deploy. What else? Deploy inscription.
Yeah.
A mint inscription and a transfer inscription, which all was enabled by TAP protocol.
That's right.
And yeah, that again, interesting time. It blocked out 7 days, the NAT token itself. Mixed reactions. But yeah, fast forward, we had to work closely with Benny.
Yep.
To like architect the right indexing process around all of this. So maybe you have some insights into that, like how difficult or.
Well, the first thing that Benny had to do was update his indexing system for Jubilee.
Yeah.
And man, it feels like prior to like, after November, we did the drop and we're telling everybody, okay, we got to wait for Jubilee. Nobody else was talking about Jubilee except us. Like, this was an important update. We got to wait for it. Yeah. Nobody else was talking about it.
A lot of that's credit to Benny, right? Because Benny has always been like ahead of, I guess, the majority when it comes to like, what are the real important considerations when it comes to like ordinals.
Yeah.
And the progression of that, right?
Yeah.
He's looking out for potential holes and such. But yeah, Jubilee was a big one. It's like, it doesn't make sense to like rewire all this stuff to a legacy system that eventually is going to be completely changed.
Exactly.
Yeah, it did.
So that's why we had to wait until he updated his systems for Jubilee. And then after Jubilee, he was like, okay, now let's index DMT and NAT. And and then, once it's indexed, here's the endpoints. And then now we can actually see what is valid and what is not valid.
Correct.
And only valid tokens can be listed. And then we had Ordinal's wallet launch their their marketplace for NATs. And then a few days later, mScribe. And so now we have, I guess we should look.
Yeah, it's a good. So a lot of this happened. Yeah, it's only been a week, which is crazy. But I mean, on that first day, I remember whenever the trading began on Ordinal's wallet, it was like for about 15 or 20 minutes or so. I thought like, we thought that the NAT token was more valuable than Ordi.
Yeah. Because
people were telling us that. It's like, dude, you need to check out these sales on Ordinal's wallet.
Yeah.
I think it was something like 5 billion tokens for like 0.4 Bitcoin, which was like 18 grand for 5 billion tokens.
Yeah.
And if we look at the price now, what is it? Probably like $800 or something like that, $700 for 5 billion tokens.
Yeah.
So it was quite the gap. And yeah, if you did the market cap calculation at that time, it's like, yeah, this is the most valuable fungible token on Bitcoin. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And there was few sales doing that.
It wasn't just a fat finger occurrence.
Yeah, correct.
There was multiple fat fingers.
Yeah.
with
which alluded to this is the market cap.
Potentially, yeah. I was still skeptical because that went on.
Yeah, of course.
I
mean, you can't launch a token at $1 billion unless you're some VC funded like
correct.
Thing.
Yeah, some god tier. What was it called?
Yeah, ICP.
Yeah, basically
it launched at 20 billion.
Yeah, and then crushing ensued.
Yeah, only to $1 billion. So sucks for them, right?
Yeah, it's had a lot to do with like Sam Bankman-Fried apparently or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, anyways, so it was an interesting like first hour. We're just, I guess the whole market was collectively trying to come to a grasp of like, how much is this thing actually worth? And then people were just starting to learn about it. Like, why are we talking about this thing? It's like, why should I be interested? Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, that's when people really started talking about it. They were talking about it when they were minting it.
Yeah.
Now everybody's talking about it now that it's trading.
Yeah, and you called this, right? It's like, if we would have just pushed out a documentation for DMT without an actual token, nobody would have.
Snooze fest.
Right.
Nobody would have heard of DMT. Nobody would have heard of non-arbitrary tokens. Nothing.
Right. So the DMT, the NAT token was essential. It was necessary to kind of put that spark and to galvanize the entire ecosystem, right? And the protocol itself. So now people are interested. They want to learn more.
Yeah.
And it's happening. We've been witnessing that over the last week. Sentiment has grown to quite a beast, I would say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My whole feed is nothing but NATs, like tweets and shit.
Correct. Yeah. I think for good reason. I mean, we tend to really appreciate this concept.
Well, yeah.
We see tremendous value in it. We weren't so sure other people would.
See, but here's the thing. But we kind of knew that other people would see value because this is a new thing.
Okay, right? There's that.
Non-arbitrary tokens has not been done before, right? We had bitmaps. Now we have fungible tokens.
But not all new things get like like quickly realize as far as like, like this is something of value. Sometimes a new thing can either just completely be not well received.
Yeah, but usually the new things is what gets attraction and gets people to notice.
Correct. Yeah. So you're right. In a sense, it was expected, but I don't know. What I'm trying to say is just it's been surreal to kind of like witness all this unfold. And yeah, like the theories or the theses that we're seeing emerge out of this.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are predicting this to be like $20 billion market cap.
Yeah,
like within a year. And
yeah,
stuff
we've
like
seen
that.
like logic, like a conclusion that has been arrived logically, where the market cap is like $10 to $40 billion or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, is it? I mean, who knows? I mean, how can you know? I feel like because right now in the ordinals communities, maybe like 200,000 to 300,000 people, maybe 400,000. That's nobody. We're talking to ourselves here.
Well, yeah, but that's the case for any like new meta protocol or new.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But once everybody hears about what's happening on Bitcoin, like the larger community, the larger crypto community, they're like, wait a minute, non-arbitrary tokens.
That's true. At some point, like whenever the zeitgeist becomes aware that there's an ecosystem flourishing on Bitcoin, first time ever.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, let me take a look. Like, what are going to be the standout narratives that are going to capture everyone's like mind share and attention and eventually their value, right? Like, where am I going to attribute and allocate my value?
Like today, they would go in and look at Ordi. What is that? Oh, BRC20. I was like, that's a fungible standard. It's like the first one. Okay, kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And then like the next one is like, okay, wait, there's this non-arbitrary token thing. What does that mean? I was like, oh, these are tokens derived from the data of Bitcoin. Oh, that's cool.
Maybe they're like, that sounds stupid.
Or maybe that sounds stupid.
And that's true. But that's it. That's the point is that is the new thing where now you have to like wrestle mentally with like, you have to make a new decision that you haven't had to make before.
It's like my whole life has been arbitrary. Like my whole crypto existence has been arbitrary. Wait a minute. Like this challenges your worldview as far as crypto goes.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I've been getting some conversations with people online and stuff about this. Like, is there purpose to the non-arbitrary tokens?
There can be. Continue.
That was pretty much it. It's like basically like, why are you guys doing this? Like, what's the point? It's like, did we need non-arbitrary?
Okay, so here's a question. It's like, do we need this? It's like the non-arbitrary metaverse needs the non-arbitrary tokens. That's why we need this.
More specifically, Bitmap, because Bitmap is the only non-arbitrary metaverse.
Bitmap's the biggest NFT project in crypto.
So why do you think it needs it? But can it? When you say need, is it like an exclusive?
Well, it's a need because if it's not that, then it's arbitrary. And what do we have with arbitrary? Well, let me mint a token, 1 billion to myself, man, and just tell everybody that we're an airdrop.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to mint it to yourself. You can create,
No, you have to mint it to yourself.
For now, but in the future, let's imagine like, programmability becomes a primitive to Bitcoin. Now you don't have to ever do that. You could just distribute and emit a token based on logic.
Are you talking about smart contracts?
Correct.
Have you seen how editable smart contracts can be by hackers?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Okay. So there's the fact that they're tamper proof, but these are on chain smart contracts.
Yeah.
These are so.
Yeah.
Now they're as hard as non-arbitrary token.
But let me paint you a picture, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So now it's like, forget smart contracts, man. You can get a token based off of provenance, right? If you hold this bitmap, well into 1,000 years from now, you can get your token, right?
Yeah.
No matter what. You don't have to depend on anybody. You don't have to, nothing.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. That is better because bitmap doesn't depend on anybody either.
Yeah. So to me, what you're saying is this is just another option, right? And that's kind of what I've been arriving to in these discussions. It's like when people ask the why, it's like, well, like when you're working on building like an airplane or something, you're engineering something. Wouldn't it be nice to have access to more tools to try and create like the best airplane you could possibly create?
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, it's like I would rather like somebody create this new thing I don't necessarily know how useful it is, but just me having the ability to now like incorporate this as part of my creation process.
Sure.
Maybe all of a sudden it's gonna this engine's gonna fucking fire at a rate it's never fired at before. But I don't really know yet. But I want the ability to
for sure
try this out.
With a new tool, all of a sudden your engine turns into like a warp engine.
Potentially.
Right?
Well, that's the whole point, right? Let's introduce some new tools and let's see what happens, because clearly we haven't figured out how to like engineer and architect foolproof, sustainable digital economies yet. But it seems like that's the goal, especially in regards to the metaverse space. Like that is like the big thing we're trying to unlock here, right? A true digital economy,
right?
That is what the metaverse opportunity represents.
Yeah,
you know, and it's difficult. Economics is very complex.
Yeah, it is.
It's like one of the more complex things humanity has achieved.
That's right.
Right. And as a result, like we've progressed exponentially as a species because we figured out economics.
That's right. We figured out how to do a stable coin called the dollar.
Yeah.
And that's largely attributed. An entire last 100 years can be pointing to the dollar as why we were able to achieve as much as we did in over 100 years.
Correct. Yeah. So all we're saying is, you know, and we said this at the very beginning, whenever we first started introducing DMT and stuff, to me, it was always been, why not? You know, when people ask why wouldn't we do this if we could?
Yeah.
Right. We've identified the ability that this can happen, this can occur.
Yeah.
Just let's put it out there and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's worthy of an attempt.
So I recommend you guys watching the interview with Beanstalk. Remember that interview?
Oh, that's way back in the day.
Way back. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool because he like showed us that the dollar is actually very important. And we shouldn't shit on it all the time.
Yeah.
It is. Like, it was like fundamentally very important.
Yeah, the motivations for that. Because that was like a stable coin protocol.
It was, yeah.
Like an algo coin or something.
Yeah.
And that's like the big unlock, right? If we're not going to have sustainable DeFi until we figure out like
that's right.
Real sustainable stable currencies, right?
That's right.
And here's our example, you know.
Yeah.
Our global economy has figured that out. As a result, we had a 100-year period of like rampant innovation and acceleration of our species.
Yeah, think about that. Yeah. Only in the last 100 years have we seen all this innovation. That's it. It's 100 years. Yeah. We've been around for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah. With like, really shoddy, crappy economics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no progress. No technical innovation of any kind.
Yeah. So that is an interesting like parallel. So yeah, economics is complex. Digital economics, even much more probably complex. So the introduction of more tools for, you know, token generation and different distribution mechanisms and such, that is what non-arbitrary tokens represents.
Yeah, just this morning, I spoke to 2 different individuals launching non-arbitrary tokens. And they're like, hey, dude, can we get on a call? I want to make sure that I deploy this properly. And I jumped in and, you know, they're doing a great job with what they've seen and what they've done, right?
Ising.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. So those are the airplane engineers of tomorrow.
That's right.
Yeah, and so like, this isn't to say like non-arbitrary is the only new pathway, right?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, that's the conclusion I've arrived at too. Like this doesn't all of a sudden make like arbitrary tokens like obsolete.
No,
that's not our claim in any way, right?
No. Yeah, it's just what's interesting is like whatever you can do with your arbitrary token, I think you can do it with non-arbitrary tokens. I'm pretty sure you can. I'd like to see a scenario where you couldn't do it. And maybe as the document currently stands, you probably can't do it. But with a few edits, you probably could.
Okay. So
all right.
On top of all this, you know, Ordinal's wallet, obviously volume explosion.
Yeah, 24 hours, 8 Bitcoin. And let's look at all-time volume. So remember, this has only been like about a week. So we have 91 Bitcoin, 91.5 Bitcoin in volume. I guess the only thing to compare it to, since these are non-fungible tokens, is Ordi with 500.
Yeah, which has been a live trading token since March of last year. So
yeah,
I mean, it's been pretty crazy to see the market reaction to this, and now it's getting some centralized exchange support, which
I was gonna pull that up.
It's beyond like we weren't expecting that to happen. OKX has been throwing like weird ass subliminal hints for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's weird.
You know, they're announcing support for a lot of different meta protocols like atomicals, BRC 420s, SRC 20s, stamps. Like all these things are getting their shine now on OKX and educating their user base about these new assets. Yeah, look at that fucking, look at all those tokens.
Yeah.
Tap, pipe, ARC20, BRC20, startup coins. There's a lot of stuff going on this exchange.
All right, let's see if we can pull up. All right, here we go. We got charts now, dude. We've graduated.
Now this looks like a token.
Yeah.
This is what I'm familiar with this.
Yeah, so now it's kind of easy to do a market cap, right? So there's 340 trillion tokens. You multiply that, and you're getting about a $60 million market cap there.
Roughly or so.
Yeah, give or take.
Interesting. All right, dude. So yeah, it's fully out there. This is the beginnings. I think there's been 2 other blockout occurrences since 7 days ago.
That's right. Yeah.
With Baked and Joker.
That's right.
Is it Baked and Joker?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're seeing other deployers out there deploying their own tokens. Yeah. So let's go to mscribe. Let's take a look. Let's get a picture of what's happening here.
All right, so if you go to mscribe.io and then click on elements here, you'll see all the elements for the field 11 that have been generated, right? DMT is the first one. And what's cool is that you have the deployment time. So you have exactly when these things were deployed.
So why just field 11, dude?
Field 11 is because Benny has to do a ton of work to actually index all the fields. Right now in the doc, there's 37. Maybe there's like a 6 or 7 more to kind of list on there, but we can do that later.
Yeah.
And it's a ton of work, right? To take this meta protocol and implement it in code and make sure there's no funny business that people, kind of mess around with, like trying to figure out how to hack it or whatever.
Yeah.
So right now it's only field 11, and down here there's a couple more. We got a pattern of a car, dude.
Yeah, this one got your attention, right?
Oh yeah, I was like, man, there's no way this is gonna work. You're not gonna find a car in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Turns out the car is on Bitcoin.
How's it on Bitcoin, dude?
Well, since it's in field 11, if you turn this into hexadecimal, and you can actually find this hexadecimal as a pattern within Bitcoin.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess we don't know yet whether it's actually been discovered, right? Because
correct.
There's the task at hand for people who are actually trying to excavate these blocks to find these patterns. Because this is just the element registration, right? This is the formal recognition of a pattern.
Yes.
Per some field of Bitcoin block data, right? That's what elements are. That's why there's a page on mscribe for this. But that's just the starting point, right?
Yeah.
Now people can point to this reference pattern and derive token deployments, right?
That's right.
That's what NATs are.
Yeah.
And there's a page for that too. NATs.
All right, let's take a look at that.
It's a full listing of existing NATs. So not all of them are referencing the same element, right? Like NAT, for instance, this is pointing at the DMT element. That's the one we inscribed. That's invoking the actual numeric value of the bits field. Right?
That's right.
So that's what determines the supply of the tokens and such. But some of these other NATs, they're looking at completely different things, like infinity. The infinity token, I think that's the 4th on the list.
Yeah.
You can see on the element right there, they're looking at the pattern of 888 within the bits field.
That's right.
That means they're not looking for like a total quantity of how many bits per block.
That's correct.
They're looking at how many of these blocks have that pattern, right?
That pattern in the bits field.
Correct.
Yeah. So now we have an available supply. We got 81 holders of infinity.
Yeah.
And so this is a discovery process because there's 2 ways to go about this. Benny, the indexer, can go and index all these patterns before they get like a pull request from the community, right? Or he can actually wait for people to go and say, hey, I want this pattern, and then actually do like a challenge response system where it's like, hey, does this pattern exist on this block? Yes or no?
Yeah.
If yes, you can inscribe. If no, you just found out that pattern does not exist on that block.
But now that pool can be stored, right? Now it's known.
It's known.
It's a shareable event, meaning like as long as somebody on Earth like queries that indexer.
Yeah.
Right.
Imagine this. Yeah. Imagine this table is a representation of all 824,000 blocks, right? And so this guy checks block number 1, and it's like, nope, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So that gets broadcasted to everybody.
Yeah.
Right. So then another person checks number 2, is like, nope, that gets broadcasted to everybody.
So this red. That's red. Yeah. Potentially, we're talking about interface design now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then another guy checks is like green. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and inscribe. It's like this turns from green to like blue. And it's like now blue means somebody has it.
Right.
Right.
And pretty much like, so long, suckers.
Yeah.
I got my NAT.
And so now
snooze, you lose.
This is more scalable than Benny.
Yeah.
Like trying to come up with all the permutations and all the possible permutations of a given field, and like trying to come up with like supplies for these patterns that no one is even asking for.
Yeah.
But eventually maybe somebody's going to ask for it so he can supply the supply.
Yeah, I love it.
And so now this is way more scalable. It's like, I'm not going to do any like crazy engineering. I'm just going to wait for people to ask me if this exists. And if it does, I can tell you yes or no.
Yeah. To me, that's very exciting. I love that model so much because it's like a whole new variation of like proof of work. I guess like you have to put in the work to, at least when it comes to like a new element that doesn't have like a discoverable presence yet.
Yeah.
Right. Like the first deployers, and then of course like the rush to onboard a community of people like seeking out like where do these patterns exist so that I can get my mint.
Yeah.
That's a whole new like human activity. And that's always been the point. Like now there's like a whole new appreciation for like the data layer of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
People are actually actively
discovering.
Like, they're actively present within like the block.
Yeah.
We've turned everybody into actual block runners, dude.
That has been the entire goal of this channel.
That was the biggest, without even realizing it, right? Whenever we came up with that name like 4 years ago.
Man, what a clutch move.
Yeah.
A lot of these things are with the name.
Yeah. You were literally running around the block. Like,
yeah.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
It is crazy.
That is weird. Yeah, we're living in a simulation for sure. You know what I mean?
Man.
So yeah. Maybe that's what people will call that new activity.
Block running?
Or block running.
I'm a block runner. I'm
yeah,
like an official block runner as like the title.
And you're literally just gonna be sitting there clicking on like squares of the block, just checking. Is there a pattern here?
Yeah.
But the reward, the incentive to do that sounds very boring. Hopefully you have a Vision Pro on while you're doing this. So, you're looking at your block and you're still watching your porn and your sports and all that at the same time, right? You're chilling, but you're running the blocks and you're finding your mints within it, right? Yeah. So the future is going to be great no matter what, So I already have this vision in my head. Like we're going to see these weird like reports on the television one day.
It's like a screenshot, right? It's just like sports and porn and like blocks.
You're just gonna see like a room full of people with their fucking Oculuses and their Vision Pros, and they're all just gonna be like literally like running them on blocks and like looking for their shit, dude. That's gonna be wild.
Yeah, that's absolutely gonna happen.
We'll see. I don't know. Maybe we're fucking crazy, but anyway. So this is the beginnings of that. So we don't have blocks yet, but the wheels are in motion, right?
Yeah, this is the best way to do it. I mean,
the board has been set.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Okay, so as you can see here, there's a few deployers pointing to the exact same element, which of course you can do, right? We may not be the best at like picking the best token for any particular application, right? But you might be, right? So you can say, you know what, that bits field is more useful if we do it this way, right? And so here's my application, or here's my thing, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we have a few people doing the attempt here with Bit and Cool Cat.
Cool Cat. I like that.
Yep.
Capybara.
Yeah.
Lucky. PP money? Or no, Pay money. Sorry. Satoshi. I mean, yeah, this is all. Oh, we got some cool Chinese names in here too.
Yeah.
The Chinese community has been.
Yeah, they love it.
Shout out to the Chinese community, dude. God, I wish I could like actually
communicate with them.
Yes, that'd be great. But we see you guys fucking going absolutely ham on this stuff, which is so cool to see, because I mean, it's fucking great, dude. We have like a global impact.
That's right.
Which is wild to think about.
Yeah, man. It is cool to see kind of like everybody getting involved in this. And that's That's the beauty about Bitcoin. It is global, right? When you talk about Bitcoin, you're talking about everybody.
Correct. Yeah, so we put something out there. I mean, we're just a couple of lads here based in Texas. If you don't know where that is, it's that weird state at the bottom of the United States that people like to make fun of because we're like fat and we wear cowboy hats and stuff. Apparently,
yeah. There's horses outside.
Yeah, I was thinking Florida by that description until you said cowboy hats.
Yeah, Florida's. Those are the fat guys with with cocaine
and alligators.
and alligators.
Oh, bath salts.
That's Florida.
Too.
Yeah, bath salts. Yeah, they're a little crazy over there. But yeah, who would have thought a couple Texas boys, could have some impact. So
yeah,
that's what I meant by earlier. Like this is very surreal to see.
Yeah. Speaking of surreal, let's take a look at some options here. Right. So what you're looking at here is representations of elements and tokens. And so we were thinking about, we had we're thinking about the name of DMT, NAT, the block runner, like all of these, like they make sense, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, is like people are block running.
Correct.
Digital matter theory. Yeah. DMT is like some drug. Like it just, I don't know.
Allegedly,
it's almost as if we like designed this like with precision and with
like
intent,
from the very beginning,
like 4 or 5 years ago.
I mean, I guess it makes sense that these are all terms that we've introduced. I guess I mean we are us. It kind of makes sense that like all the things we put out there kind of tie together, right? One way or another.
Yeah, because we were talking about how. In the future, when people get exposed to NATs, like NBC is going to run a story. It's like, you remember those NFTs?
Those non-fungible tokens?
Well, these kooky kids came up with NATs.
Yeah, those damn millennials over there, they're doing it again.
Yeah.
It's like first they did non-fungibles, now non-arbitrary. What will they think of next? Yeah, I could see that.
Right.
And then in the background, it's like a 60 Minutes piece, like
yeah.
that little ticker.
Yeah.
And then they're showing pictures of people with their fucking VR headsets watching porn and sports, dude. Yeah. That's the news piece.
What are these kids doing these days?
Yeah. So if that happened, we were talking about that. Like, dude, like right now it's a mind fuck, but that's a real mind fuck if it gets to that degree. Because I don't know, we've seen this already happen. We know inscriptions was the first virus.
Yeah.
It's already happened. It's spreading. It's overtaking the world.
Yeah.
I think like fucking one of these financial institutions that that is selling ETFs, they put on the laser eyes on like the US dollar.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but they're over here like shilling inscriptions now. It's like you need to be bullish on inscriptions. You haven't seen that?
No, the ETFs?
Like a major financial institution, it's telling people like inscriptions are a big fucking deal.
No fucking way.
I swear to God. It's out there somewhere.
Wow. I'm surprised you didn't link it, dude.
Yeah, my bad. Just trust me, it's out there.
Trust me, bro.
Yeah. But so the virus is out. It's on Wall Street now, the fucking inscription virus. Yeah. So the next virus we called is the map virus, bitmaps.
Yeah.
It's already permeating to other chains. We see Doge Map, Soul Map. There's Stacks Map.
Yeah.
There's maps all over the place now. Eventually, you're gonna see, financial institutions like wanting on the metaverse because of that.
That's right.
So the next virus we're calling is the DMT virus, right?
That's right.
And we were already catching wind of like Doge.
Yeah.
The Doge community literally wants to create non-arbitrary Doge tokens.
Yeah.
And why the fuck not? That's exactly what we were expecting to happen.
Let's go, dude.
Yeah. Why did I say that? I forget.
Yeah, I forgot too.
It had something to do with that 60 Minutes piece.
Well, it was branding. That's what it was. We started with branding, like coming up with names. And so it's like, okay, it's kind of important to put an image to these elements because these are elements. They're only found one time on Bitcoin. One time are they found.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess, we're talking about this image or these collection of images, or I guess we're about to unveil, because you're talking about branding. I guess since we've invented the element concept, do you feel like there's some sort of responsibility here to kind of like add on to that?
It's really up to the community to like leverage these. It's up to them or not. But we chose an image, right? It kind of fit exactly what we wanted, like in terms of this looks like a cube. I mean, obviously not in this image, but
yeah. If you look at
here.
It's one of the weird things about, like, literally just look at that and then like tilt your head a bit or like just move around and like all of a sudden you're seeing a cube.
Yeah. There's a cube here.
Yeah, but at first glance it looks like a circle.
Yeah.
With like these tentacles.
That's right. Yeah, which is like decentralization, or think of this as like Bitcoin, and these are non-arbitrary tokens.
Right. That was like our artistic interpretation of this graphic.
Yeah.
And yeah, it worked out so perfectly, and it's trippy in itself. The fact that this is a DMT derived, it's like perfect. Like I already feel like I'm on fucking drugs just looking at that thing.
Just that's the point of this image. This is the branding. It's like you get something out of it, and so like it's worked with the community, right? There's so many people like leveraging this and like implementing it in their own way, and like that's the point. You want the branding, and so it was like, okay. So like, let's make sure that we can have people like leverage these assets. And so imagine that you come up with an element or you launch a token and you have one of these associated with your token.
Yeah.
Like these are cool.
Yeah.
Right. So, and so like we want to put this up to the community. It's like, you know, is this something that you guys want to leverage? Do we platformatize this so that anybody can like go and, you know, download these and apply them to their platform or whatever?
So how would it be like allocated? Like if I inscribe, I don't know, fucking water bottle element or water or whatever.
Yeah.
Am I gonna expect one of these that looks watery, or is it gonna be? Is it gonna?
This kind of looks watery.
I would argue the one at the very bottom middle is like the most water-esque.
Yeah, that's true.
That looks like an ocean.
Yeah, that's true.
I would want that to represent my water element.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's tough.
This is tough. Like, how do we, and this is kind of why we wanted to talk about this, because we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, because like I have my own like desires, I guess.
Yeah.
I definitely love the look and feel of this brand. Like, this is insane.
Yeah. It's great.
This is a great representation of a real digital element, right?
Yeah, look at this. Look how clean this is. Look at this guy. All these are great.
Yeah. Those are for the egg fans out there. You know? Yeah, so these are just randomly generated, right?
I've seen one. I've seen one that looks exactly like COVID, like a COVID
coronavirus.
Virus, yeah.
Yeah. Not surprising. I mean, yeah. So, yeah, are these just going to be, I guess that's the question we pose to the world. If you had a choice, would you prefer, because mScribe is going to do its own thing. Like, we are building a platform to support the whole ecosystem around NATs and such, and DMT and whatnot. So we're going to implement, like, you know, this platform feature, I guess. But this isn't like an exclusive ability to mScribe. Anybody can support element inscribing, right?
Yeah, but it's going to be important to, like, if you're talking about a particular element and this is what the element looks like, that across the board, this is the element that's shown by you know, different marketplaces.
Then that would mean some sort of like on-chain instruction. That like, there's this element and here's this image associated to this element.
Right.
Therefore, it is an interoperable, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's not just mScribe.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then it's like, okay, I want the ability to, I created this element because I was the first one to recognize this pattern. Should I be able to upload or associate any image to my element? Or does it have to be like this catalog of branded imagery?
Yeah, I feel like it could get out of hand.
I know. That's the whole point. It's not easy to come to these types of decisions, right?
No.
This one's tough because I love this so much, but I'm just me, right?
Yeah.
I'm not he or she. They might think differently. You know what I mean?
What song is that, dude?
That's fire.
Thanks, dude. Bars all day. I don't know, dude. But I guess, what do you guys think? Are these, you know what? Just
go with it.
Sling them. Yeah, sling them all day or what?
You know, if you create a token or an element or even a token, right? And then you get assigned randomly one of these things, would that be a problem?
I would say no. I would like the mystery of that. I want to know which of these I'm going to get.
Yeah. I mean, how are you going to hate this one more than this one? Right? How are you gonna be like disappointed with any of these?
I mean, that's very subjective, dude. You don't know.
It's like, yeah, I don't know.
Some people might just be like religiously against the color red. You know, it's like how like fuck. It's like I got the red one. You know, you never know.
Yeah, but I feel like it's like when you're going out there to find gold. It's like gold is just the color gold, and it is what it is. It's like this is it. You got what you got.
Interesting. I like it. Yeah. Yeah, it's not like the physicists who discovered like the fundamental particles of the universe. It's like
disappointed with the color.
Yeah, I want it to be configured exactly like like no, it's configured in the way that nature determined it to be.
That's right.
But we're not like a natural vessel, right? We're not God. We can't determine like what digital matter looks and feels like, right?
Yeah,
but it's just a representation.
But again, like the ultimate point is that it's the branding. Like you want a token that looks like this because people will be like, you know what, that's cool. I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to, take a picture and, represent the token.
Okay. Well, nonetheless, this shit's coming to MScribe at the very least, right?
Yeah, it is.
There's already one up there. If you go look at the NAT tokens.
Yeah. Let me go back.
I mean, it is the NAT token image. Let's just take one last look at that. There it is in all its glory.
Yep.
Beautiful. So yeah, I guess if you go to the elements page, they'll all have their own.
Yes.
Randomly assigned.
Yes. Randomly assigned, yeah.
Squiggle.
Yeah. Dots.
I'm down for that, dude.
Yeah, same. Yeah, because I don't know, man. If you go to like any marketplace and you see a list of tokens, there's just a ticker. Like
no, they have.
Sometimes they do have.
Most times they have their own logo.
Well, in emerging marketplaces, they do not have logos.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you're right. The branding is very important. Like, look at fucking Doge, dude. That fucking dog is everywhere.
That's exactly.
That dog
is everywhere.
It's cultural. It's an icon, right? So that's the question at hand here. I think we leave it open. For the token deployers, you just put whatever you want. But for the elements, like let's keep it elemental.
Yeah, right. That's a good choice.
Okay.
All right, guys, that's it for us. If we miss anything, let us know in the comment section below. Please share this video, like, and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed everything we talked about today. We did talk about a lot, so
yeah, pretty random.
Yeah, let us know what you think. And that's it for us. Appreciate you guys for watching. We'll catch you in the next podcast.
Peace.